Hello and welcome to LedgerCast. My name is Brian Krogsgaard. I'm here with Josh Olswich. Hey, Josh.
Mr. Brian, good to be with you, as
Hey,
always.
It's great
Friday.
That's right. On this Friday, it's great to be with you as well. Hey, guess what, Josh?
It's morning in America. That's what.
That's true. But this episode is also brought to you by Matcha. Our good friends at Matcha are back, and you can go to ledgerstatus.com/matcha to check them out. They're a great team. It's a great way to trade. They aggregate liquidity pools, which is about to be important. I'll explain why in just a minute with the news. You go there, trade on a DEX. It's a super seamless experience. It's curated. They have some stuff that our fans, our folks are really going to like. I can assure you of that. That's coming out just in the next couple of weeks. I won't spoil it yet, but we'll talk about it when it does come out. You can go to Matcha, trade today, ledgerstatus.com/matcha. Thanks to them for being our partners on this episode and all episodes of LedgerCast. Love to have
all
them.
Episodes, really?
Almost all episodes.
All right.
We had a little delay there, but yeah. So what I was talking about there with the what people might want to hear coming up is, Uniswap liquidity is really, really good because Uniswap rewards are paid off in Uni, and that is ending really soon. So
yeah, why is it ending though?
Because it's a short-term incentive program. Short-term incentive program for people to provide liquidity on Uniswap. And
so is liquidity going to go to garbage once the incentives over?
That's the big question. They don't. The design of Uniswap governance requires way too many Uni to actually put a proposal forward, so no one can get these proposals forward, which is funny. So by not being able to make adjustments right now, the initial period is just going to end. And currently, the pools are WBTC and ETH, USDC ETH, ETH USDT, and DAI ETH. And those are anywhere between 400 million and 1 billion in liquidity each, which makes it really easy to get between, dollars and ETH basically, and WBTC, and provides incentives for people to provide that liquidity on Uniswap. Well, those are going away, so a lot of those main pools are going to lose some of the liquidity as those, they don't have any desire to pool and, keep their stable coins in there or whatever, be subject to impermanent losses if they don't get Uni and reward. So there's some thought that liquidity could go to SushiSwap or whatever else. Right, because Sushi, because Sushi's still paying rewards and they're actually better than the Uni ones. What's interesting about that though is that Matcha, they will pull trades together from both. They'll find you the best. They'll pull your trade from more than one. So let's say you're buying a decent bag. Let's say one whole Bitcoin worth of something. That's $16,300.
Which is a lot of money, really.
It is a lot of money. I was just thinking yesterday, I was like, who's crazy enough to buy a Bitcoin for $16,000? That's nuts.
Yeah.
And anyway, so let's say you're buying some, relatively small cap with that. Well, they'll, like MTA maybe, whether it's Balancer or Uniswap or SushiSwap or wherever, they pull from each of them to make it the least slippage with the lowest fees, and they do a lot of math around that to make it right. So that's what Matcha does, and you can go to ledgerstatus.com/matcha for that. So anyway, that pulls us into that news, and that is, what are we going to see in terms of liquidity on Uniswap, which, they're still getting $235 million of 24-hour volume right now, which is a lot. So that's something to consider next week. What's going to happen with those dollars? Like, those are in liquidity pools, and I have a video on liquidity pools if you don't know what that means. But if someone has a whole bunch of Ethereum or wrapped Bitcoin, they also have a whole bunch of Tether or USDC or whatever, depending on which pool they're in, and they are going to have the option to unpool that, and then half of it will be in the stablecoin or Ethereum. Are they going to deploy that elsewhere? Are they going to buy, altcoins with it? Are they going to buy Ethereum with it? Are they going to buy wrapped Bitcoin with it? What are they going to? Are they going to redeem all those stable coins, and we'll see a reduction of stable coins in circulation? We're going to see some big changes over the next few days, and if there's nowhere else to chase that yield like they're getting with the Uni token, then I'll be curious to see what happens. Do you have any theories, Josh?
Well, if there's no incentive to effectively stake or pool, whatever you want to call it, like why would you keep your money there? Why wouldn't you just go to sushi, right? Like somebody made this great analogy the other day where DeFi is just a bunch of locusts like feeding on yields until they find the next one, and then they go to the next field of yield.
Yeah,
because like I'm not worried about the big pools for Uni, or I wouldn't be. I'd be worried about the small pools because I feel like they're going to be most vulnerable to just suddenly having no liquidity, right?
Yeah, but people see you're independently incentivized on the small pools. So DPI is an index, right? It's a DeFi Pulse index. They don't earn Uni for for providing liquidity there. However, the DPI index might have a independent fee or some way that they provide incentives for people to pool there. So all of those kind of have their own downstream incentives or non-incentives. The big pools, though, it's more like, can I conveniently transition for me and you? Even if you're like doing maybe 6 figures of a conversion, you're probably not going to have more than, I don't know, 1/3% of slippage on these huge pools. They're not going to get so small that you can't do that. But what's going to happen on like the smaller ones? I don't know. Or what if you're trying to convert $2 million? Like you don't want 10% slippage trying to buy Ethereum. And right now you have incredible non-slippage going on. Yeah, Plor just said in the chat, DPI ETH can be staked for Index, which I guess is some kind of governance token of theirs. So they have rewards, and that's why they have $35 million of liquidity on that pool. So it's interesting. Like we've seen this huge drawdown, 90% across most of these DeFi coins. You just did a video on those, Josh. And we're starting to see some bounces on them. But have we learned anything since these last went up? Like people learned a lot of hard lessons about providing liquidity and impermanent loss, and whether the incentives are appropriate from what it does to the inflation of the coin and the devaluation, playing a game of hot potato. That caused big selling pressure over 2 months, right?
Yeah. The thing that worries me with ETH 2.0 and the pools, it's like if the incentives on the pools are greater than ETH 2.0, which they probably are. I haven't calculated it or looked at it, but if they are, ETH 2.0 is going to suffer. It's like with this proof of stake stuff, you are putting your security into not security, that in a sense that how can
you're putting your custody.
Yeah, but you're making the network more secure, much like hash rate with proof of work. Like you're choosing your hash rate if you can, depending on profitability, mining profitability, right? Which is basically what you're doing. Like if this is basically saying like everything's proof of stake, everything has the same consensus algorithm. I can move my tokens into whatever, whenever I want. So whatever has the greatest incentive is going to do the best because I don't care, right? Like if I'm min-maxing my yields and I don't care about ETH, which let's be real, most people probably really don't. They're not going to say, oh, I'm going to be the good person and suffer on my yields if I can stake an ETH 2.0. I don't know. Maybe there's enough people out there that'll do that, but I think most people are not going to bother.
Yeah, and I think what we're going to run into is this is what I mean. Did we learn anything? So
I don't think so. No.
Is the tooling going to change?
Next question.
There's a couple things that need to be fixed, right? Maybe that prevents this rally from getting much headway. You have the Uni chart right in front of us. It's up 100% off the bottom.
But why is it even up?
We'll talk about that. So is impermanent loss going to be fixed by some kind of code change in Uniswap 3.0? Like is impermanent loss going to be lessened? There's a lot of experiments in other platforms, but they're not getting traction. Like only a couple of these platforms really have traction, which is like through the 0x API and like something like Matcha. That's an aggregator. A couple aggregators have traction, but then those aggregators are feeding off of Uniswap, SushiSwap, and maybe one or two others that are okay. Like Mooniswap maybe, or a couple others. Balancer. I don't know what's big outside of those. So is impermanent loss being addressed? Is the inflation schedule stuff being addressed? And what can incentivize loyalty to these pools or these protocols so that it's not just leeching, like you said, especially if it's just the people that have no stake in the token itself. Like, you're earning uni pooling on Uniswap, but you don't have to hold uni to do it, right? You just hold Ethereum and WBTC. So it's like a Zeke-like permanent inflation, that's like
right.
collect uni and dump it whenever it's appropriate. So it prevents some of that upside because the big boys that are putting millions and millions of dollars in are just going to dump it when it's ripe to do so.
Yeah, and again, if we use like the proof of work analogy, it's
like the miner.
Yeah, but like this is like BTC in like 2165, and like the block reward ends, right? The block subsidy or whatever. Like, will the network be as secure? I don't know. Like, we're still debating that, right? People think yes, people think no, but this is a good experiment for that, right? Because in 2165, there's probably going to be plenty of other coins you can mine, and you can that have a block reward subsidy, right? It might be like next to nothing, but it's not zero, whereas Bitcoin would be zero. This is like it's like the Monero perpetual inflation argument versus ending the block reward subsidy. Will the network be as secure? I don't know. I don't think anybody knows what's going to happen with that, but
yeah.
So yeah, it's good to like see this happen live rather quickly. Whereas like the coin got released, dumped to garbage nothingness, and now it's up again. But it could just go to zero. What I'm assuming is going to happen is the governance is going to kick in. They're going to say, you know what, we're going to perpetually print this stuff.
Yeah,
because
magically
the pools need it, right?
Yeah, magically, as soon as all these rewards are gone, we're coming out with all these updates that are going to make it bullish anyway. Uni's market.
Well, that's fine, but at the end of the day, if there's a better incentive somewhere else, then you're just going to go somewhere else, right?
Yeah, that's fair. So the fully diluted valuation of Uniswap or Uni is 3.8 million, or 3.8 billion. Current market cap 800 million. That's after 100% increase off the bottom, more than 100% increase off the bottom. And this is an increase that is kind of market wide in the DeFi space. Like, a lot of stuff is up. So we'll have to see if some of these can last. Some of these increases can continue, and what happens there. You did a video about a lot of this stuff, and you didn't seem as optimistic. Can you give me your take on that aspect of the market?
So 2 weeks ago, I was talking about this DeFi perp thing, and I said, you know what, there's probably a falling wedge here. It's got a divergence. There's a decent case for a technical reason why this stuff bounces. At the same time, the Wi-Fi stuff like fell off the table. The Y squeeze happened. I don't really know what led this to finally bounce, other than people stopped selling. Like, I don't know why there was a bounce. I just think it was just bearish exhaustion, I can't really think of any other reason.
Yeah, I think it was bearish exhaustion and some rotation from Bitcoin, like really riding,
Yeah.
People looking at, hey, what's left in Bitcoin? Like, what's my upside? Another 5% or 10% versus this stuff that is down massively, but I still have some belief in. Wi-Fi in particular, you're showing the DeFi index, but Wi-Fi in particular, I kind of have the least confidence in, but it went up the most. So that one's tough. You talked in your video about how technical this one's been. And if I was looking at it purely technically, like we talked, I think we had time on the last episode to talk about the big bull div that had printed, but the size of the bounce kind of shocked me, especially when you go to Yearn's website and stuff. They're really not providing very much yield on their product because there's.
Here's a question for you.
Yeah.
Is Y squeeze, is that market manipulation?
Well, yeah, but it was.
well, yeah. I thought so too. I thought this is.
I don't think it's necessarily illegal. Is it a?
That's not a question for us to decide, but
right.
I think it's definitely market manipulation.
Yeah, right? It's definitely people saying like, "Hey, here's some big money that just went in to short it at the bottom. Let's squeeze them," and then it just propelled significantly. But then it kept going up. Like even since your video, like it started to respond to the bear div a little bit, but then it had a huge update. People are still treating it like a blue chip. I'm not sure that it is a blue chip from a product perspective. Like I put some ETH in Yearn for a bit and just didn't earn very much yield at all. Like when you account for the fees and what you end up getting, maybe I'm just belittling it a little too much. But
so you're saying, as a locust yourself, that Wi-Fi isn't gonna live to see another day very long.
It wasn't like blowing my socks off when I tried to do it. Now, granted, maybe it was 13% APY or something like that, which I guess is great, like compared to the real world, but compared to what I was able to get in all the clones with high inflation and all that, from a relative basis in the market, I wasn't earning very much. So anyway,
unless there's people like me who are just like putting their ETH in Mooniswap and don't care.
Yeah, you're just waiting on the free money token to come out. I mean, that's what I did with Mooniswap too. I mean, you've been in there for longer than I was unwilling to really just stay pooled with one thing. So I kind of missed out on some of that, especially like I said, before the show, we were talking about, kind of keeping your Bitcoin stationary for a tax perspective. I don't want to now go pool a bunch of like BTC ETH and put it on Mooniswap to earn the token if it's a tax event just to create the liquidity provider token,
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. And then another tax event when you sell the token that they give you.
Yeah. So it's like that thing better be worth it.
Better be worth more than $1.
Right.
Or whatever.
Some dollar amount for the amount of, whatever you put in there, dollars you put in there, what's going to be worth it. It's all an interesting little calculation. And we don't know what is truly a great product in DeFi or not. One of the
here's what I think Mooniswap should do. Once the uni rewards are over, Mooniswap should say, "Oh, hey, we're starting our rewards now."
Man, you say
if
that.
I was them, that's what I would do.
That's a great point, and it would not surprise me if they launch like in the next couple of days, purely as a send your money over here because you just got disincentivized over there.
Yeah, I mean, that's business savvy.
Yeah,
right.
You heard it here first. The next podcast we record, we'll probably be talking about the 1-inch launch.
Maybe. I don't know. And I'm dumb and lazy. I just like leave my stuff there because I don't care,
Right. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. So there's a lot of speculation about like, will they do the same thing that Uniswap did? So if you ever transacted on their platform at all, either through 1-inch or through Mooniswap, you'll get the token airdrop just like Uni and all that. So we'll see. Surely they make it a little different, but I don't know. We could have some stories of, random third world countries where someone transacted and then they got their year's salary from the amount it was worth when it launched. I love that. Those were like my favorite stories from the Uni one.
Another thing they could do is like wait to see what happens at the end of the Uni distribution period and see like, okay, do we need to make this perpetual or do we need to like, what do we need to change? What do we need to improve on to make Uni token 2.0 basically, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And not necessarily token 2.0, but, protocol 3.0, like we need limit orders. We need to improve impermanent loss. We need to make it easier for liquidity providers. And I saw what's his face, the CEO of Uniswap, talk about how 3.0 fixes everything, but 3.0 is not out yet and we don't know when it'll be out. However, I bet they will have it out. I bet they'll have it out similar to your strategy from a 1-inch perspective. I bet they'll launch a lot of new stuff with the end of the incentives.
If I was a competitor, that's what I would do for sure.
So a product that I have been able to take advantage of is I've used some of the lending and borrowing tools for the first time, and those I'm actually impressed with. I used, there's like Aave and Compound. So what you can do there, because I wanted to expose myself to some altcoins, and I felt okay doing it with a very small amount, like put some WBTC in Aave or something, and then borrow USDC, and then buy altcoins with the USDC. So I'm keeping my exposure to Bitcoin, and then I'm seeking new exposure with altcoins. Now you have to do a small enough amount. yada yada, so that if you lose money on those trades, you can still go back and repay it and all that. For my purposes,
is it time to buy alts though?
That's what I want to get into a conversation with you, because you talked about this moving average crossover, and it's definitely Bitcoin dominant season. And I was just like, no, I think alts have bottomed, and I think we are going to see I think we're going to see significant uptrends in alts between, well, when they bottomed a week ago or whatever it was, and the end of the year. And I think we're going to see a explosion event in January, just like we did in 2018. I think the playbook for Bitcoin's top, local top, and altcoins doing things, it'll be exactly the same timing as it was in 2017, 2018, for exactly the same reasons, from tax incentives to quarterly basis. We talked about the correlation there before. I think that's what's playing into it. Not to mention all the narratives in the space, like we've talked about the election so much, but the inauguration is right there in January, and people might be going risk on, yada, yada, yada. So I am very bullish on a lot of altcoins right now. You have Litecoin in front of you, of all things.
I know, right? It's the bellwether. As goes Litecoin, so goes the election, as they say.
Oh, okay. Well, tell me what you think about Litecoin, or if you think there's a case for what I'm saying, like that altcoins have upside.
Well, this is the only thing. So I do these articles on everything once a month, right? And I didn't really look at Litecoin recently until a couple days ago, and it looks really, really good on, if you just look at the
USD pair.
Just the USD pair. So like looking at the daily, just looking at the crosses here, it's like cross. This is like garbage, like trendless, nothingness, right? But if you zoom out and you're like, oh, there hasn't been a bull cross on the 2-day. Or I'm basically curve fitting this to see like how bullish is this, right?
Yeah, but it's been enough time essentially to where it's like maybe this time it's the time.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's exactly how I'd put it. And the other thing about
long
LTC,
enough accumulation, long enough pain relative to Bitcoin, like that looks like trash relative to Bitcoin, because Bitcoin's been trending so hard.
Right. And the other thing about this is on the BTC pair, and I don't have any link or any Litecoin right now anyway, so whatever. But there's definitely a div. There's definitely a massive falling wedge here. So the question is like, when does this do its thing?
When's the retrace?
When is the mean reversion going to happen?
Right.
Never, or within the next month?
Well, Bitcoin maximalists will tell you, and at some point, these alts will indeed never recover. However, that's not yet proven to be the case a single time.
Well, I don't think they will ever outperform BTC over multiple years, but they will outperform BTC over like months or weeks, like clearly, right? Even Doge has its moments,
Yeah, everything has its moments.
Otherwise, nobody would trade any of this stuff if it didn't,
But right now we have mostly smart market participants, because we don't have new market participants, and therefore the pumps are kind of smaller and smaller. So,
but Litecoin just listed, PayPal just listed BCH. What do you mean we don't have new market participants?
Well, that's what I'm saying. We're on the verge. Like, you're putting some money in PayPal, and they're like, hey, do you want to buy Bitcoin Cash or Litecoin, with the terrible descriptions that thankfully someone on Twitter pointed out. So I'm with you, but we need those people to buy the bags, because right now it's mean reversion pumps, short squeezes, things like that cause the big moves. And that's why the newer stuff that doesn't have all the price history has more opportunity.
I agree with you there.
Yeah, Litecoin mean reversion alone is alt strength, but Litecoin frickin' sucks. Let's look at something like Ethereum.
Let's look at EOS though. Look at EOS.
EOS really sucks. EOS is even worse than Litecoin.
Exactly. I can't see this breaking up. Can anybody, right?
Some will be dead. Some will be the feather coins or whatever.
Is it going to be EOS? They raised $4 billion.
Who cares? They keep their money. Good job. It's like Brock's slush fund. But I got Ethereum pulled up over here. Right. If we use Ethereum as our guiding beacon, Ethereum on the weekly, like we said before, we talked about the kind of flip of this local level and then the bullish impulse over that. And this week, it looks like it's following through. it's going slower than Bitcoin, but it's at 475 with a lot of space overhead and ETH 2.0 vibes and same PayPal vibes. I swear, man, I talked about this today on Twitter when I've been getting a little heated on Twitter recently. I apologize.
Yeah, I noticed. I like it. I like that fiery.
But I talked about how, our new folks, they're not going to buy Bitcoin when they hear about how much it's up. They're going to go straight to altcoins because they're going to look at this and they're like, I want 1 Bitcoin. Like, I'm not buying 0.05 of one of these things. I spent thousands of dollars on it. But you know what you can do? You can go buy one whole Ethereum for under $1,000. That sounds cheap. So what is the difference really to a new person when they're looking at a $16 or $17 or $22,000 Bitcoin, and then they're looking at a $475 or a $785 Ethereum? What's really the difference? What's really the difference, Josh? For them, nothing. They're just a new person finding their way. For us, it's a big opportunity between 475 and 7 something. Which are my 2 big targets on the chart. And I think that's where they'll run to. And there's the 2.0 hype. There's the DeFi narrative. Even fast money, top things. Covering Bitcoin again. The last bullet item on why Bitcoin is up was about decentralized finance. And if you don't think with Bitcoin and price exploration and ETH doing stuff, you don't think CNBC is going to talk about DeFi and getting DeFi thought leaders on CNBC.
God.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen.
It had a shiver roll down my spine.
Well, just wait for it, my friend.
Here's the WBTC, BTC locked. It's kind of stalled out recently, but this is definitely something to watch. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's a lot. There's just so many variables here. And at the same time, I look at these charts on technicals in my deserted island, and I don't want to long any of it up here, you know?
Yeah, it's very stretched.
It's super stretched. Let me pull up.
I have my Bitcoin chart that I want to pull up. I just showed.
Oh, sure, but here's the ETH. ETH is breaking up right now, 476.
Yeah, I just showed the audience the ETH weekly. You're looking at a lower time frame there on ETH. See, I'm not so. That's more bullish rising wedge.
Here's the question.
It felt more like an ascending triangle to me.
How do you determine a bullish ascending triangle from a bearish one? Because
you mean a rising wedge versus an ascending triangle?
Sorry. Yeah.
I think sometimes if the ascending triangle doesn't impulse quickly enough, it can start to look like a rising wedge, but sometimes they just kind of run. Like Johnny was talking about. Johnny Moe is a good friend of ours, and he kind of talked about it like a running wedge. Like it kind of just starts curling up, so it's like the momentum is building on it. So it's not a quick impulse. It makes it dicier, I'll say that. Like you want something that's just the most beautiful ascending triangle. You know, the 2017 ETH one out of 300 that you and I were like salivating over. Those are the best, but you don't always get those. Sometimes they just kind of roll up and take their time on the price expansion, and then the last candle or two is where like the majority of the win comes. I think that could totally happen here with ETH. I think that's kind of what's been happening with Bitcoin. Is it looks stretched at 14K and at 15K, and it just kind of rolls up and rolls up. I mean, Bitcoin's going hyper fast on my weekly chart. We are currently breaking above the second highest weekly close ever, which was January 1st, 2018, lo and behold. And then the only thing we have after that is 18.9, December 11th, 2017. Yeah, so I mean, Bitcoin doesn't have a lot from a weekly perspective in its way, but it's also literally not had a drawdown in like 2 months, you know?
Yeah, for me, this is the most uncomfortable trading position to figure out.
Yeah, because you look at that on a line chart, that's what it's consolidating while getting more and more vertical.
Right. It's like it doesn't stop. It's relentless.
And it's got nuke potential, but it could nuke upwards, like with a blow off top, or it could just roll over and like spank like $2,000 or $3,000 down.
Yeah.
It is parabolic on the low time frame, is what you're highlighting here.
the thing that I always tell myself is, if I'm long and wrong, is that going to feel worse than being out of a position and wrong? It's not even like risk reward or like, I don't know. It's just about the feeling, the psychology of like being wrong. If you're not, I don't know. Just like look, if this rolls over, and I'm in a position, I'm telling myself, what were you thinking? Obviously, it's going to roll over, But if this breaks up, I'm like, okay, like to me, that's less obvious than actually rolling over here.
Right. Well, some of the most profitable candles are those final ones, right? So yeah, even on the low time frame, you're looking at a line chart there. I pull mine up and I can totally visualize like how this thing expands all the way to tapping the all-time high. We get another $2,000 plus out of this same exact trend. We are gonna get a retrace. I don't care what people say. New paradigm, all this crap. It's not like assets don't retrace, even though they're strongly bullish. They do. They totally do retrace. Now, we've seen some assets in the 2020 era that went parabolic. Even with this parabolic line, you saw this tweet of mine, and we've talked about it on the podcast before. If you start it in this July, like the breakup from like 9K, 9,200, and you account for our one drawdown that we had, we could draw down now easily to 13.5 between now and the end of the year and still maintain a parabolic advance that would put us at 33K
before July?
Certainly by July, but actually the 33K line on that line that I did was like by May, 33 by May. So basically it means the trend is very, very fast. Like here's the trend if I just put it on the weekly and like make it a narrow chart, like that is absurd. And we're outpacing that by a lot. Like if you just drew the line curve fit to where it is right this moment, like it's going to be so vertical it's backwards by like January, February. So we're moving fast. We're due for some down candles. On a weekly basis, we went November through December, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks from 6K to 20K. So can we go faster than we're going currently? Can we make an all-time high this year? Can we make an all-time high next week? Yes. The answer is emphatically yes. That makes it very hard to short. It makes it very hard to long. So like, what do? We sit on our hands and we don't sell. Like, that gets back to my narrative, why I think we top at the end of the year. Because it's like, all right. Like I'm not paying taxes right now. I'm taking some off the table January. Thank you very much, Bitcoin. But I do think we're going to get a big retrace. We've talked about the size. It's almost a meme now talking about everybody talks about the 30% retraces that happen in a bull market. And everybody's just curve fitting what happened in the 2017 curve. Because that's the proof that we had, right? Well, yeah. From 2016 up, it's like it just tapped that 20-week moving average a handful of times and then continued on. But that was still a historic uptrend. Like it's insane what happened there. That's in log. If you go outside of log, it's the price expansion that we had is absolutely insane. But what we're seeing now is like the 2.0 version of this. You see this? Do you see this out of log? I mean,
yeah, that's why we were talking like this is 2015, 2016 vibes as far as potential.
Yeah.
Which is why I want to retrace even more, because the more retraces we have, the more we can slingshot higher,
Yeah. So we need some
otherwise if we don't retrace soonish, it's just going to be a 2019 situation.
Yeah, where it just tanks.
Right. Where it just
In 2019 we both felt, I know both of us, over 10 and especially over 12K, we were like, this is way too hot. And it went all the way to 13.9, wicked like crazy, and then we had a year long, essentially like the rest of the year to kind of recover from that. We could totally run into the same thing this time on a equivalent basis. And this helps looking at it in linear. I was served well in 2017 looking at it in linear too, like trying to keep myself straight, like it's going like crazy right now.
People still use linear?
Every now and then it's helpful in my opinion.
Damn.
But we haven't had the type of candles that were like the last 2 weeks of that market, like the absolute.
Well, no, of course not. We're not even, it doesn't even, the sentiment doesn't even feel like we're even in 2016. It's
sentiment. I'm thinking outside of sentiment, what's it look like just from a price action perspective?
Yeah, but all this is happening and nothing, like, for no reason, really. Like, I don't know. Maybe I've just been in my my COVID bubble too long, but
no, you're right. It's not like I'm not getting texts from friends. I know I have friends that were like they're like, you're really invested in Bitcoin, like significantly, like they're like trying not to ask you like, do you own a whole Bitcoin or anything like that,
Yeah.
And it's like, are you serious? You trust that? I'm not getting any calls this time. I got that. We talked about my one friend who asked me about it, and it was before we broke up from 9K. That was it. We haven't even seen the Robinhood bros being talked about. Like, tech stocks are kind of rolling over. Are they coming into our market because they're seeing the momentum? I don't know what to expect. I don't
know either. It's weird,
Yeah. We need a drawdown. We will get a drawdown. It will be something significant, some kind of mean reversion. It'll be a buy the dip opportunity. If it's the 20 week is at, Josh, the 20 week is 11.5. So that equivalent of what we talked about, the big drawdowns in 2016 and 17, that would be significant. That would be a significant drawdown. That's like a 35% drawdown.
Hey, it's healthy.
Yeah.
The thing is, it resets all the late longers. Like, it liquidates all of them at once, and they all cry or lose money or whatever.
Yeah.
And then the cycle starts again, right?
Yeah.
It's like
12K is a really beautiful level on a weekly basis, like multiple weekly close type of areas, like really 3 different sections. If I'm looking at 12K, there's the August 2020, there's August 2019, there's March 2018. That 12K looks like the type of level we could certainly slam back into from wherever we top. So people are going to try to buy that dip a little too soon, and they're going to get hurt, and it's going to create the wick, like as people have to continuously stop out. People are acting like just because we have corporate buyers and all that they can never be underwater, and it's a new paradigm, no dips allowed. I'm not quite a believer of that. But it will be a buy the dip opportunity. The question is where. Do you have any what levels do you like before you get to that 11.5, 12K zone?
It's just a very strange situation all around. Before 11.5, 12K?
Yeah. Like I like 14, but on the weekly, it's hardly a relevant level.
Where am I putting bids? Like 13.3, 13.5. That's where I'm putting bids. And that'll move up slightly, but as far as a margin position, definitely 13. Like, I want to get in there. I don't want to get in any higher than that.
Yeah. So that's pretty sizable drawdown. And that's more than some of the levels that I have on my chart. Like I can be convinced of 14, 13.5, but I could also be convinced that I got to be a lot more patient than that.
Like, and here's the other way that you can think about it. Are we going to break the R2 yearly pivot?
Oh yeah.
Before the end of the year?
That's the one at 18, right?
Yeah. 18. Yeah, 18. Like, are we really going to break that before the end of the year?
We talked about it. We talked about it at the beginning. We talked about January 1st. We have not claimed our clout, Josh.
I'm just not so sure,
We've not claimed our clout, but our predictions thus far for 2020 are weirdly accurate. And actually 16K is my closing price estimate for 2020.
We should have put them in the blockchain. That's what we should have. That's what we should do in January.
But you know what? We have audio.
Yeah, but it's not in the blockchain.
It's not fake. It's not fake news. It's time stamped. We can point back at it. We can talk about our yearly predictions. And the biggest thing that I said then is if we pass through 12K, I thought that we could get above 16K and maybe even an all-time high tap. And my prediction for the end of the year price was 16K. So I'm liking my odds right now. That's all I'm saying. So if we go up higher and then we're right back at this price at the end of the year, I would totally believe it. Totally believe it.
They make fun of people and they say like that was the most bullish dump ever, but that's totally where my head's at right now. Like we will be so bullish if we dump 30%. Like
we really need some bullish dumping.
We really do. We really do.
Well, Ethereum, I mean, it's starting to mark up a little bit while we're on the show.
Ethereum, like the auto bidding on Ethereum right now reminds me of BTC before it broke up from 15 or whatever.
Yeah, and that's kind of like it's like it's doing well, but it hasn't like really slammed up. It's kind of been this grind up, and it's been fast. I mean, it's not like this is trendless, but it made that high at the DeFi top is basically where it's back to right now. Like September 3rd, September 2nd, September 1st at 480. Now we kind of grind back into that. If we make a new high here, it's like multi-year price exploration, even if it's, historically we've got those levels at like 700 or whatever. Everybody and their mother's sitting here looking at like, okay, they're going to come claiming victory at 500, the round numbers. And they're
going to correlate it with ETH 2.0 and the market thinks it's going to be great. And, whatever that's guaranteed going to happen.
Right. From a pure fib level, like close to close, if you're looking at it independently of all of those things, 500 is really just the one, it's a 1.236 extension. That's nothing in crypto. And that's just based on the local, high and low. A 1.618 would be like 570 and 2.618 would be 730. You and I have talked about that weekly cloud top at 790. I think people are underestimating the significance of what we could see if ETH does this with vigor.
Oddly, looking at seasonality, I love my favorite thing to talk about. So if BTC averages 100% in Q4, then we're talking what is that? It
20K.
It's about 20, 22, something there. Oddly, ETH has done the worst on Q4 and has done the best in Q1. I still don't believe those numbers, but so.
Well, I saw a prediction today. Someone in the ETH landscape was predicting ETH 10K in 2021. That
10K?
That would put me in disbelief.
I don't think that's possible. Sorry.
I don't either.
The inflation is just too high.
Well, this is from people who are saying that the inflation is not going to be the same. Like it's going to become more deflationary. I think that's their justification anyway.
I mean, sure, but there's still a lot
I'll put
of
it this
coins left,
way, Josh. I will be selling any Ethereum that I have way before 10K.
Oh, for sure. 100%.
Moon to me is any price exploration, like all-time high is Moon for ETH. Like the 1400 top was really expensive.
I will take anything above 750. You can have all my ETH at 750.
Yeah. But if ETH does happen to go above the 750, above these targets that we talked about at 800, makes it equivalent all-time high. If it hits price exploration, I'm going to be really curious what can happen. But
for what reason would it do that? It hit those highs because
ETH 2.0 vibes, man. I don't know.
Nah, see, I don't buy that because during 2016, 2017, it was ICO mania. Like,
yeah,
we're not going to have ETH 2.0 mania. Proof of stake just sweeping the nation. That's not
everyone in the country should have 32 Ethereum so that they can stake it for 12% APY.
And it's just that they can pull out 2 years from now or whatever. That's just unrealistic. Like it's not bubbly enough,
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's bubbly enough for 10K. I don't know if it's bubbly enough for an all-time high. If it does, I will be probably selling Ethereum on, like I'd be in Ethereum for all-time high price exploration for sure. Sounds fun. I don't think I'd be playing it for like going for multiples in price exploration. Like I'd be looking for partials. I'd be looking, some kind of fib extensions or something, but not looking for $3,000 Ethereum or something.
Yeah, no chance. Sorry, meth heads. Back, I say.
Back.
Put those targets away. Save the bull targets for the Bitcoin people, the real crypto people.
Then again, I'm not being a very good believer in Bitcoin either, because, when we talk about targets, 2017 all-time high to top, 20x. This time around, you tell me 20x off the prior all-time high, $400,000 a coin, you can have them. I'm not a believer. I'm sorry. Anyway, you've got Zcash up. It is.
How are you going to get in the Citadel if you sell your coins?
I know. I need you to adjust your Zcash chart because it's so bearish that my face is over the top of it. So can you drag that up a little bit? So thank you. So
I was going to say, because they've got a halving situation coming up.
Oh, I know. And I'm in, baby. I own multiple Zcashes.
I don't know. I just don't see it. I'm sorry, Zcash people.
So the BTC pair has a sneaky little potential swing failure pattern, like all-time low, sweep and go type of vibe to me.
Totally. Yeah, no, I don't agree with you at all. But
you have a line chart there, but
look at this. Why would you buy this?
Such a beauty.
Why would anybody buy this?
So
hold on. Where's the top? Yeah, there it is.
It's so beautiful.
What?
I have a really old chart that's a picture of Zuko that I drew on a chart. All right. I see here, Josh, I'm going to hit you. I'm going to hit you with your own tools. Okay? I see your line chart, and I raise you a weekly ZQSD cloud entry. And guess what? It's the first ever.
Really?
Ever.
ZQSD.
ZQSD. Look at my screen. Pull up the Twitch.
I'm in disbelief. All right, I can see that.
It's above the Keyshin. The Keyshin is right at the bottom of the cloud. That's where I bought it, by the way, right at $60, because I was looking at that. And
like a good cloud trader.
Like a good cloud trader who cherry picks his clouds that he chooses to follow. And I bought some Zcashes. I had some margin profits, and I was like, where can I burn these? So
where can I literally throw these out the window?
So there we are. I chose Zcash. And
all right, well,
and Barry,
I'm not going to buy it. I'm not going to touch it, but I can understand.
And Barry, I trust the 200 week USD moving average. Do you remember when I was getting trolled about this with ETH? It was a thing. Is at $135 per Zcash, and that is officially my USD target for Zcash. $135. You heard it here first. I'm not selling any Zcash until then, or until I otherwise decide. A little bit of an asterisk on that.
Well, it's weird that all these alts sort of had the same structure, late 2019, early 2020, but like only ETH has really like made those higher highs,
Yes. ETH has massively outperformed.
So what's gonna bring up LTC and EOS and like all these other high cap coins?
Nothing. Zcash, great fun. No, I'm just kidding. I in particular do not see the fundamentals for failed Ethereum killer networks. If you talk to me about privacy mechanics, I think XMR fundamentally is better, but I don't think that is a war that's been won. There's a narrative that Zcash still has, because if anything, chain analysis would tell you like Bitcoin is as public as ever. Like this.
Yeah, but as far as I'm concerned, regarding ETH killers, like the war is over.
That's what I mean. So the path.
Fees were infinity on ETH, and people were like, you know what? I don't care. Let's go.
Right.
Let's game on.
Yeah, high fees were good because that meant people were there. EOS is finished in my mind. Like just not in the ball game. Tezos is on the struggle bus in a big way because they had plenty of time to attract builders and networks, and as far as I know, have not done so. And then we got the new vibes. We got and to varying degrees of success, we got the Algos and the Atoms, and even newer, we've got the Polkadots, which is the Tezos of 2020, I guess. We've got the what are some of the other ones? Definity, maybe, like some. There's a lot of them.
Hey, that's a word I've not heard in a long time.
I saw a Asian like VC. No, it was Thomas Lee. It was Tom Lee did a fundamental analysis of his research firm did a fundamental analysis of the Zilliqa network for creating financial blockchain products. That blew my mind. I'm like, Zilliqa?
IOTA. I was probably paid, by the way. He did one on IOTA a while back.
Nice.
Also paid.
Yeah, so that was very surprising to me. Maybe it was, but like, this inspired my feisty tweets yesterday of there being too many blockchains, yada yada yada, because there's still too many people trying to be ETH killers when they've all lost. Like, ETH 2.0 can still blow up, but ETH has such a fundamental advantage in terms of builders building on it and people using it.
Yeah.
If you're going to be on anything else, it at least has to be Ethereum virtual machine compatible, because that's where all the code is, right? So I think if anybody's going to be competitive, maybe Binance Smart Chain has some narrative for doing stuff, even if I don't think it's going to like kill ETH. Like, it's super cheap to do things on Binance Smart Chain or like somewhere else that has ETH compatible code. Like, what if Polkadot scalability is there, but you can run Solidity code on it? Just port your ETH app over.
Yeah, if it's independent of the chain.
Right. Maybe that's how you get like financial instruments or like things that actually scale on the blockchain, but you're coding in one thing basically. And then that's bearish probably for Ethereum, because it essentially commoditizes the network, and all of their, stuff that was built is just kind of can be ported for free anywhere else that's EVM compatible. But
yeah,
nevertheless, not many have a great narrative against Ethereum, and Zcash has some narrative. Like, the privacy components are there.
Oh, come on.
I'm just saying, the narrative is there.
What narrative, dude? The narrative is inflation is 60%.
And the halvening is upon us, and I don't care what people say. Sometimes Zcash can pump. It doesn't pump great. It probably underperforms, but I'm in it for the berry pump. The halvening berry Zcash pump.
I'm here until the 135, then fundamentals are terrible at 135.
That's right. As soon as it hits 135, the fundamentals are awful. But that's a doubling for the halvening. Count me in.
All right. I have such a bad taste in my mouth.
All right. Yeah. Please talk about whatever you have. Current value staking. Look at this staking ecosystem. What the heck is that?
No, I had the random question about AVAX. I'd never heard of this coin. It just popped up the other day.
Oh, yeah. It's a quasi hyped new coin. Someone was talking to me about it. It's probably going to be like the next Link that we just don't know about until it's 20x or something, but the investors are all in profit now. So I just kind of blot it.
Because all these just look dead to me. Even the new ones,
Yeah.
Like Dash is definitely a zombie coin. ADA, I don't think has a chance in it. Snowball's chance in hell. Tron is garbage. Like, I don't know.
Once again, these are old coins, old narratives.
They're oldish. Some of them. Like,
new coins pump better. I'll show you one. This is Crypto Bobby got me onto this. And this gets into like, hey, what are the things that have been working, and then what are the problems, right? So Uniswap, it's all ERC20s. So how do we connect this stuff to previous blockchains? Well, this is where Thor Chain, this one's got a lot of hype, and it's been like this weird triple bottom, but trending ridiculously hard. It's called Rune. This is the type that could hit price exploration and go bonkers. And we don't know what the targets are, because it's not down 90% over 3 years like some of those. Like, when people are looking for these, this is much more attractive to just your everyday person versus those with all that baggage. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of those, and some of them are like Lind became Aave. And then it's like, oh yeah, sure, we haven't pumped yet, but like Lind pumped like mad. So by the time it listed Aave, it looks like a brand new chart, and it's going into new price exploration, but it's already up like a freaking ton because of Lind. But it's like finding its way to pump again because it looks fine. Like, people just aren't very smart in figuring out.
Whoa!
I'm sorry, I should have said that. And
that's pretty much it. That's all I got. Other than Link selling increased, and the Marines are upset. But what are you gonna do?
So the Link Marines
they're upset. Let me rephrase. They're upset that people are pointing that out. They're not
the
upset.
Link Marines did not know that I was trolling them when I talked about the the technological advancements of Link something, because I'd longed Link. And then I made this like sarcastic tweet about the bullish fundamentals of Link that are underestimated, and the Link Marines got on it. They were very excited. And then like 3 hours later, I stopped out on Link and I said, Link's a scam. They didn't see that one. They just got hyped about the one that I was joking about. Link BTC looks like trash, by the way. I think Link's story is almost done relative to BTC.
Really? I thought it looked okay. I gotta find where I put it.
You looked at it in a video relative to USD, and you rightfully pointed out.
Didn't look at it on BTC, but
yeah, you rightfully pointed out its strength, like in the long-term channel and all that stuff. Relative to BTC, man, I think it's dicey, very dicey.
I mean, that totally makes sense logically. It's only up 25
million%
in the past couple of years. Like,
yeah, it's never failed this 200-day moving average, not significantly against BTC. But what I notice is it's one of the largest ranges from like its top down to the 200-day moving average. So it's basically this decision point that it met once, twice, 3 times, almost 4 times, and now maybe like the 5th time, where the 20-day and the 200-day converged. The price went down to the 200-day. I would, if it loses that and it completes this head and shoulders type of pattern, it's the type of thing where I could see it over a long period of time going from 70,000 sats down another 50% plus, easy. Like the market sours on it, etc.
I said this in a video, but if the smart contract limited people are savvy, they're going to actually decrease their selling, because that's only going to increase the selling pressure, right? Like,
right.
If they're selling more and more and more, and the market isn't there to buy it, prices are only going to go down faster and faster and faster.
Yeah. If you wanted to bet on this, you could do it along this 200-day moving average relative to BTC, something like this, and then go down and short it to the cluster below it, like the natural kind of take profit, prior consolidation, whatever. That's a 45% drop from where it is today relative to BTC. This is the type of thing that I think, if you're trying to say long Bitcoin, but what do you short? Like, this is the type of thing that in a bullish market might be a decent short hedge. And then you could keep an eye on the USD chart and some other, whatever else, to see like, is it, how's it responding? Anyway, so that's a trade idea, random trade idea. We can come back on that. Link Marines can give me a hard time. I'm just trying to look at it, looking at the chart in a vacuum, objectively. That's a trade that I think is enticing.
I mean, the weird part is there's just no volume up here at all. None.
Yeah, like in the volume profile.
Yeah. It's just like the entire year has been on super thin volume.
Yeah. And there's one more that I'm using as a kind of a hedge type of scenario, which is Filecoin, purely because the diluted market cap and weight on this thing is crazy. The launch was a disaster, and I saw a decent entry. I was able to get, it's a small short, but able to get in this just under $30, like $29.90 something. And it just looks so heavy to me. If the market dumps, I think this is going to dump like crazy. If the market goes up, I think this is going to lag. So I shorted it. I'm going to try to leave that short open until it hurts if it goes against me. Because I think if it goes down, I think it could go down like a lot, like 20-30% easy. So I'm kind of treating that Filecoin as my hedge to some of the other things in the market. All right. Did we cover all the questions, or did you have anything else that you wanted to say?
I got nothing. I'm tapped.
Yeah, same. I think the biggest news item was really the PayPal stuff, and we'll see what kind of buying happens there. It looks like they have some pretty high fees for participating that way, but hey, you're buying Bitcoin on PayPal. What do you expect?
Yeah.
That's all I got. Thanks to Matcha for being our partner. Go to letterstatus.com/Matcha. Thanks everybody for being in the chat. Give us a rating or a review or both in iTunes. We'd really appreciate that, only if it's 5 stars. Thanks for being here. We appreciate y'all. We hope you're making tons of money. Be safe out there. Buy the dip. Don't get too stretched. Don't do too high leverage. This is not financial advice. We'll talk to you next time.
Monuments crumble in the blink of an eye. The easy river has just run dry. In a house of cards